Uwe Rosenberg is one of the titans of Eurogaming. He's perhaps best known for Agricola, but in his games you can be anything you want. Farmers, dock managers, vegetable traders, farmers, abbots, glassmakers, quilters, cave farmers, bean farmers, or farmers. Today, we're going to be dock managers as we play Le Havre, the inland port. We'll construct buildings and store resources as we vie to be the most profitable warehouse in the district. One fun thing about this game is that it gives you a choice of how to represent your resources. You can play with the traditional wooden cubes, or you can use little cardboard chits with pictures of the resources on them. And last but not least, you can flip the chits over and play using pictures of cubes. And with that, Eurogame abstraction has officially jumped the shark. Okay, so here we are with Le Havre, the inland port, which is actually more like Ora et Labora than it actually is like Le Havre.
This is a very stripped down version of Ora et Labora, basically.
So you're first player. How are you thinking of starting this thing?
Okay, well, giving the starting resources, I was thinking about taking either the wood company or the hardware store, and the hardware store costs one more resource, but it also has more points, and it gives me a little more flexibility. So I took the hardware store here because this is a game about adapting to the situation, so I thought the flexibility was a good way to go.
Yeah, as soon as you buy that, I bought the other one you wanted. Obviously, you can't afford both at the beginning of the game, and you also can't make more resources the first turn. It's just not possible.
Okay, so you really can't use buildings at the beginning of the game because they're all in the 0 bucket. So I'm looking at what else I can afford here. And I can't afford the one that costs resources, so I'm obviously going to take one of the two that costs money. And in the end, I decided I wanted to not use all my money for flexibility, so I bought the one that cost a single money, which is the farmland.
Every round has an odd number of turns, so that means because she went first last time, I'm going to go first this time. Pretty sure at this point I'm going for the smokehouse. I don't realize it at this point, but it's going to actually end up being the backbone of my strategy for the rest of the game. This isn't a game where you really want to go into it with an idea where I absolutely have to do this. You kind of got to react to what goes on very dynamically.
Okay, and so I'm looking, there's very few buildings I can afford right now, and the one I can afford is the kiln. And it's also useful because it kind of combos with my hardware store there.
Yeah, you're going to end up with a clay monopoly fairly quickly here. Just definitely something I felt some pressure about over the length of the whole game.
And there's my kiln.
And I'm going to use the first building action of the game and pay her money. So you can use other people's buildings as long as you pay them a franc before doing so. Which is generally not too big of an impediment by the time the buildings actually get good.
Yeah, by the end you usually have enough money to where it's not a big deal. And I am going to use my own hardware store there, and I'm deciding if I want to get wood or clay. And I'm sort of looking at the upcoming buildings that are coming up in the next round that guide in the center is the cost of the upcoming buildings.
Yep, and I know when she gets done with this, I'm going to take the 3 wood on my dial, because at this point in the game, 3 resources on 1 action is about the best you can actually hope for.
And looking at the upcoming buildings, I decide I'm going to go for those buildings that cost more clay, so I took the clay.
Well, that and you have a kiln.
Yep, and I have a kiln is the other thing.
No, I was wrong. I didn't use my building. I decided it was time to buy something else.
Okay, and now I'm going to go along with my clay, I'm going to use Jason's wood building there to get some wood. So now I have lots of resources to build some upcoming buildings.
And now we hit phase D, so the turns get longer. And I'm going to use that storehouse. Don't know that we realize it quite yet, but our strategies are about to diverge. She's about to hit the resource strategy, and I'm about to hit the food strategy.
I'm pretty sure I used the kiln here since I'm in a good place. Yep, I'm in a good place to get maximum value out of that kiln. So I use that now to get 9 clay. Gosh, you used my farmland more than I did.
You know, it's an early building, and by the time you might have actually had me not using it all the time, you probably didn't want to use it anymore.
I think I used it once at the end, actually, but we'll see that when we come to that.
I was just the one doing the food, not you.
So I got lots of good resources at this point, so I'm thinking about what to build here. And the other problem is my clay is butted right up against the left there. This game is interesting because you can only spend things in certain denominations. And because my clay is butted up against the left wall there, I can't spend a single clay. I have to spend 3 clay. So I'm just going to bump a wood and take a wood trader. Yes. I don't think I got too much use out of that through the game, but I did a few times.
It's kind of more than I'd like to pay for the wood in general. You didn't have a large money income, so it was really hard for you to really use it a lot. And then I had a little food surplus, so I bought the marketplace. The white arrow means push 1 good of your choice, but once you choose a good for a turn, it has to stay that good for the rest of the turn. So you can only push 1 cube.
So I have a lot of options right now, and I'm considering them, and I decide to use my own building there to get that clay off the wall. Like I mentioned before, I can't spend a single clay without breakage, so that gets my clay off that wall.
Yeah, you really had to do that looking at what's coming up and what's available to buy.
Oh, did you take a really quick turn in there?
Yeah, I used my wood company.
But I bought the sawmill there, which can give you lots of wood.
I'm still thinking at this point, if a building's in the 3 bucket, I probably want to use it.
Yeah, 3 bucket is when things start getting tempting.
Some of the later buildings are not bad at 2.
Yeah, they're specifically parceled out that way, though. This game is actually a good balance of the more powerful buildings are later, but then the bonus buildings that you don't really use on the board are right at the end because they don't really have a chance to build. So I'm going to use Jason's smokehouse there because my fish are in a very good position to do that. And also I see that there's a building coming up that costs food that if I do that I can afford it.
You probably looked at the chart more than I did, partially because it was facing you, but partially because I just roll with the punches in this game. I mean, there's nothing random about this game. It's entirely deterministic. You could very well just learn the whole thing. I had to remind myself exactly which direction the kiln went relative to my board, because the arrows flying directions, my brain just would not parse doing a proper 180 on them.
So he used some of his cash stash there.
Yeah, that's probably something I never should have really done.
And now I'm going to use those fish I just got, because I'm not really running a food strategy, so I don't care if I burn most of my food here. And I'm going to grab that food building.
Church square.
Yep, the church square, which gives you fish and grain when you use it.
What's funny is that you're not running a food strategy, so you don't end up using it too much.
But at the very least, I can get some coins out of you when you use it.
I don't think I ended up doing that too much, but I don't have most of my engine up yet. Probably soon, though. I don't have a lot of access to clay, which is the reason I bought the clay mound, but I don't think I ended up doing much with it, and there was a point in the game where I was about to lose it if I didn't use it, so it didn't end up doing too much for me.
Okay. So here I'm going to use the resources I have and pick up a useful building. That gives me both clay and wood when I use it. That is the building firm.
I've got the last turn in round F. I'm going to buy the fish market. Again, I'm not sure I realized it at this point, but I'm about to hit on a very big fish strategy because we just saw the weekly market came up. And between the smokehouse, the fish market, and the weekly market, I'm going to get a real nice cycle going. You'll probably see it in about 2 or 3 turns here.
So I'm kind of low on resources at this point. And there's several good resource getters in the 3 buckets right now. But there is a at least one building on the board I can afford, which is that the bake house.
So it looks like we're halfway through the game because we made it to the 7th phase out of 12, but the phases get progressively longer as the game goes on, so we're a little under a third of the way actually through the game right now.
Yep, because it's 3, 5, 7, and 9 is how many turns per round there are as we go along.
Yep, in the second half of the game here, we're counting off of the second player's board rather than the first player's board.
So I used the farmhouse there, which will also help get my resources off the wall. And it gives me a little bit of grain there to work with. I feel like I could have made a better move there.
And I'm trying to set up to use my smokehouse there, because I'm going to buy that weekly market.
Okay, so since I got that food, I'm going to use my building there to change that food into wood.
Yep, you were allowed to do it 3 times, but you could only afford to do it twice.
Yeah, looking back on it now, those last 2 moves I probably could have made. I could have done something different to make more points. I think I was trying to keep myself from losing buildings there, but now looking back on it, they're not terribly high point buildings, and I probably could have made more points doing other things.
Yeah, in this game, money is points. Every building you buy has a monetary value plus just raw cash, and there's a few bonus buildings at the end, but you just are watching dollars in, dollars out.
Yep, and Jason's setting up his food engine here. Smoking fish and selling them.
Well, buying them, smoking them, selling them.
Mm-hmm.
A fish market, weekly market is a good combo because weekly market gives you 4 cash and the fish market costs you 1, so for each bump you do between the two, you gain 3 money, and you actually gain a fish, due to the difference in the direction of the arrows.
Looking back on this, I'm not sure what I should do here.
Probably commit real hard to resources.
Yep, I think that's what I do. I think I eventually take my own hardware store here.
So I think the thing that I ended up being surprised at is I think it's a round or 2 from here, but that you end up letting me get the Mason. No, you had the Masons Guild. There was one building here that I was surprised you let me get. I think it's 1 round out.
I think it's 1 round out too. Yep. There I go. I take my own hardware store and I bump up the wood. And getting the wood off that wall let me
And I told you I wanted that fish market.
Let me use the sawmill better.
I think I might be a turn or 2 from actually realizing the power of that combo, but it's starting to become apparent.
So at this point I'm not digging too many of the buildings that are available on the board, so I'm mostly just building up my resources for next turn.
Yeah, all the 4s are gone. Now we're at the point in the game where the 4s actually happen, and the 3 is no longer an immediate must-do, so you're kind of thinking strongly about which ones to do.
So since I got my wood off the wall, it was a good time to use my sawmill there.
Yeah, here are the 2 interesting buildings. I totally expected you to go for the business office, and you didn't. So I'm going to get some wood.
Yeah, I actually could have taken the business office here. Maybe I should have done that. Yeah, that might have been the better move, looking at where the board is now. But it's easier to see good moves in hindsight.
And they say hindsight's 20/20. Sounds like it's 2010.
Yep, so I'm still just building up my resources here. But you're right, I should have taken the business office there. Yeah, that would have been a big swing too. Oh well, it's easy to see now.
Kind of wondering what I do here. I think I'm going to end up working towards getting a few more resources to at least put some pressure on you as to which things you might want to buy. I know that you were so worried about breakage, but I think I spent 7-6 on the business office and didn't care too much about it.
Yeah, but that's not your main strategy either, so...
Looking at this, I feel like I probably would do the clay mound, but that's definitely not what I'm going to do. Yeah, I was choosing between the sawmill and the building firm there, and I just went with the sawmill because I really needed the wood.
Yep, now since my resources are stuck up against the left wall there, I want to do even amounts. So the 2 buildings that have 6 3s let me work in even 3s, so I'm going to buy both of those in a row here. And they're worth pretty big points as well.
Yeah, I was really surprised at this point because I thought that the business office would be better for her strategy, and I really thought that the shipping line would be better for mine because I needed some money just to actually start up my fish engine.
I don't think he's entirely wrong. I probably should have taken the business office, but now that since I didn't, I think this was the best thing to do because the shipping line by itself is 18 points with the possibility of more, and the Mason's Guild is a solid 20.
Yeah, the shipping office was like 30 though. And for not that much more than either of the two buildings you paid individually. Mostly I did that for the cash, which is what I needed to rev up the fish engine.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since you took my other cash generator off the board. So I don't think I mentioned the rainbow arrows. The rainbow arrows, when you activate them, you have to use different cube colors each time you activate them. So whereas the white arrows are push one cube a bunch of times, those are all push a bunch of cubes one time. There's no true wilds in this game.
And yep, there I go buying the other 6-3 building.
No, I think you're overpaying for the 5-2.
Oh, yep, I am. That was another bad move.
No, I think that's a really good building, but I think you let me use it a couple times, which is maybe a problem.
Okay, so now I'm going to get my resources are dwindled, so I'm going to get them back up. Get them off that left wall so I can start using my diagonal pushes.
So you can see I did the smokehouse, and now I'm revving up that fish engine. So I made like 8 fish, then I turned 9 fish into $12 or so. And now I'm going to put some of that money back into the fish market to gain another 16 fish or so that I end up way ahead of where I started.
Money also gives you the option of building those money costing buildings as well. Not necessarily that you want to, but it at least gives you an option. This is a game where it's good to have options because the game situation can change very rapidly.
And the thing with the money buildings is they're worth a lot of points because they literally cost points to buy, so they really aren't as good as they look.
So here at this point I'm thinking I might want to go for the brick factory. So I'm pushing my brick as far to the right as possible so that I can start using diagonal arrows to push it up very quickly.
And I'm doing everything I've just foreshadowed. So I have a fish load of fish right now.
It weighs 1 fish ton.
Looks like it's actually 20. The shape of the warehouse poses some interesting limits when you get near the edges. It's kind of random.
How it's stacked 2, 2, 3.
The top two
2, 3, 3.
The top 2 layers max out at 23, but then it kind of trails off after that. It's kind of hyperbolic, actually.
So there's actually a lot of options here, so I have a lot to consider.
Yeah, you have the last move of Phase I right now.
I'm also considering, I know I don't have first player next round, so I'm trying to think, is Jason going to build things from under me? And in the end, I decide just to buy a building that'll give me a couple of points.
Now we start seeing some of the endgame buildings here, but we also have the last action building here.
So I think the reason I delayed there is so that my diagonal pushers for my clay and my wood would go up 1 so I could get 3 pushes instead of 2. So that buying a low point building was also kind of a delay play.
I think I was deliberating here between buying the food building and using the marketplace. I'm not really interested in the church square because I can't get anywhere near full value out of it. And I kind of like her having the pressure to be forced to sell it anyway. That's a decision that she has to make, not me.
Yeah, that's the other thing I got to think about here is I'm at risk of losing my church square because if it hits that exclamation point, I'm required to sell it.
And you only get half face value when you sell it.
So I'd be losing 7 points.
And I'd probably buy it for 14 on my end because it's food and I got enough of that.
Which I think my ultimate decision here is actually going to be to save that building.
You got some time, and I think it's me doing the deliberation here. So I think that what I actually end up doing here is using one more of my money buildings. Yeah, I think I end up using the business office on this turn. So I was trying to get out of the corner so I could use the business office. which got me $15.
Okay, so now I'm just going to start ramping up my clay engine here. And I think I used the wood one. Not quite yet, but I got my eye on using the sawmill as well.
Yeah, there goes the marketplace. Some of those early buildings are still worth enough points to consider building them. Although with this pile of cash, I got my eye on building the Port of Normandy next turn, which costs 30 to get 50, so you gain 20. That's not bad. It's not incredible like it sounds like, but it's not bad.
Okay, and I think right now I'm deliberating on whether I want to save that church square or use my sawmill.
Yeah, but you got
Or
one.
the other option I have here that's really nice is the shipping line is just, it's at 3, so the shipping line is just 9 points right now if I take it. And once again, money gives you more flexibility.
Yeah, I think that you ended up taking the sawmill here because you were afraid I was going to. If that wasn't this round, it was next time. And here I come in trying to explain the relative merits of the church square versus the shipping line.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is the shipping line, I keep forgetting that last 4 space comes with an extra coin.
Yep, and so even the shipping line is 9 points, but the church square, saving it and getting the coin is 8 points, plus you get the 8 pushes. But then you leave the shipping line open for me to take later as well, so it's a double-edged sword.
I kind of wimped out. I was afraid Jason might take my sawmill there, so I used that.
I think I end up not taking this yet because I didn't think I was any real threat to lose it, and I also decided that she's probably not actually... Well, I also decided that I might spend all my fish by the end of the game, so it might not actually be worth taking. So I just spend the food.
Yeah, that's one I maybe should have bought out from under you.
No, you didn't have anywhere near the resources to do it.
Then again, you don't really have a huge amount of fish right now.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for that smokehouse combo that's sitting in the 2 bucket to crank up to the 3 or 4 bucket. I could make fish at any time.
Yeah, you do have the potential to make a lot of fish.
You could have always blocked me out of that by taking those actions out from under me as well, but it would have been very expensive for you to do so because the opportunity cost of doing so would be so high.
I'm pretty sure this is where I decide to save the church square, but I at this point I'm pretty sure I was debating it against the shipping line.
I kind of guided you towards the church square, not realizing that my move afterward is just going to end up being to take the shipping line.
Yeah, I probably should have just gone with my gut there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the church square is probably better for you in isolation, but with me as a factor, I think the shipping line probably would have ended up being better, but I didn't realize that when I was talking through that I would actually consider taking it. So here I'm trying to figure out what I can do usefully that's timely and not premature, because I could buy that fish factory, but I still feel like it's premature to do so, and I think I do end up taking the shipping line.
Yep, and there you go. You took my ship. Yeah, I should have taken that.
Mostly that gives me the last bit of money I needed to go do Port of Normandy. Okay, 2 rounds left. Jen is going first. She's got a lot of buildings in the death bucket. Question is how many of them are worth saving, and I think you ultimately do save all of them. Or maybe I save one of them.
Does it end on... Yeah, that is still in danger, isn't it?
Yeah, there's one more round, so...
Oh, I gotta remember that coin.
For what?
For taking... Those are in the 4 and a coin bucket.
Yeah.
I think I might have forgotten my coins on some of those.
Well, it wasn't a 2 or 3 point game in the end.
No, it wasn't. Yep, so I'm gonna use... Since I saved the church... I'm gonna use that food I got from the church to max out my wood, almost max out my wood here. Which there's the wood factory at the end of the game that gives you points for each wood you have. And I decided to change the ratios. I realized I couldn't do all 4 actions, so I changed it up a bit there.
Yeah, the math all checks out. Okay, I'm kind of thinking that I could crank my fish engine this turn, but I really want to try to wait until next turn because I'll get more out of it. So I think this is the turn where I'm going to clean up all those loose ends. So I'll start just by getting the port of... Nope, I'll start by getting the fish thing. And there's no chance she's getting to the port of Normandy anytime soon.
I think what I do here is I buy the grain silo out from under Jason here, because I was thinking he had both food engines, but really he was just doing fish. But that's fine, because I actually got quite a bit of points. It's just kind of incidentally got quite a bit of points out of it myself by the end of the game.
Yeah, nobody built the big grain building.
I just built it.
Well, nobody built it until this late in the game. It's not getting used at this point in the game. The farm, it's the big grain building. No, I did just build the farm.
I'm not sure exactly why I did that, besides it was cheap.
It's cheap in its points.
It's cheap in its points. That building is 8 points, so...
Then I bought the Port of Normandy, which leaves me a bit money-starved, but I didn't end up having a problem.
I couldn't stop you. I have 1 money.
Yeah, you need about 29 more.
I know.
You could sell a ton of buildings, but it wouldn't be profitable.
So now, at this point, I'm thinking about going for the brick factory and the wood factory that give me points for brick or clay and wood. So I took my hardware store there, and I'm moving up my wood.
It's almost maxed right there. Now, even with those ones that give you points for leftover resources, it's pretty much always better to spend what you can. Everything is at a favorable exchange rate in this game. Okay, we got 2 actions left, and I'm trying to team myself up into the next round. Because I think the big things I want to do next round are run all 3 steps of the fish engine and then buy the zoo. That's what I'm thinking at this point. That leaves me 1 additional action to do something else at some point. And I'm thinking that it's going to be the business office, so what I'm thinking is I want to get some of the cubes off the wall so that I can actually use the business office, okay? So there's a chance that I'm going to go and take the rainbow arrow, the good rainbow arrow, not the Mason's Guild.
Yeah, I bought that building and I didn't use it myself too much.
Well, it's only $1 and I have enough money. I'll give you a point, take 1 away from me to use it. It's not a problem. So I am deep in thought, and I guarantee you it's anticlimactic.
All your buildings are safe right now.
Yeah, there's nothing I have to use by the end of the game to keep it.
I know in my head I'm debating on whether it's worth it to save the farmlands. And it makes it more worth it to me since I got that grain silo. So just with the grain silo, that'll get me 4 points, and it helps max out my wood there and my clay.
That building wouldn't have been a big deal to lose, though. You would have lost 2 points.
Yeah, it's a really not a high point building. It really was, the only reason I did that was because of I got the grain silo.
Yeah, because you could have made 6 points just hitting your shipping line again. But with the grain silo, you made 6 points on it, so it was at least that good. Here goes the fish engine.
Okay, so since I have so much wood, I'm going to buy the wood factory.
And at this point, I'm going to keep my fish engine going, but I'm kind of starting to think about, is she going to be able to build the dock? Because it's pretty cheap, and she's probably going to get 3 anchor buildings here. Yep. She has 3 anchor buildings. The dock is $7 for 30 points.
But
she never gets the money.
Unfortunately, yeah, I never really have the opportunity.
I mean, you could have gone right for the shipping line right now and then gone for the dock.
Oh, that is true.
I don't know if that would have made you 32 points to do that with 2 actions. I don't know if you could have done better.
Oh, no, that probably would have been the best.
Well, if you did it, if you put pressure on it, I would have bought the dock, which would have slowed me down. You wouldn't have got it, but it would have cost me a turn.
Yeah, no, that I actually don't think I make as many points. No, from that I'm going to make 12 points from using the bakehouse.
Yeah, that's 12 in 1 turn. That's still less than 32. 32
yeah, so
and 2.
You're right. I should have gone for the docks there.
And you only make 10 out of the town hall, so that's 22 in 2 turns.
Nope, you're totally right.
Math.
It's really easy to see the mistakes.
When you know how they play out.
Yeah.
That's what makes this show special. And here I go, continuing to crank the fish engine. Here's the point where I realized I was putting my buildings in the wrong spot. Because something didn't look right. So, smokehouse, and then weekly market,
so
then fish
since
market.
I didn't see how good of the moves the dock was, so I'm going to make 12, with my grain silo, I'm going to make 12 points off that bakehouse by getting more.
That's 8 points. Because each of those is only +2.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. I should have bought the docks. Oh, well.
So now I'm going to use my business office here. That'll get me another 15 points. And I still have 1 move left.
Basically, at this point, the only way I have to make points is either the shipping line or the town hall. And I think doing the math, it was... 9
9 versus 10.
Yeah, it's 9 versus 10, so I take the town hall. Because I have to give up 16 points, but then I get 26, which is a net of 10, which opposed to the 9 I would have gotten from the shipping line.
Then on my end, I could have spent 7 grain and 8 fish on the zoo, which would have only made me 12 points, but I can get 16 or so out of whatever it is I just bought. And now here, because we have such a tight shot, I'm going to dump out our buildings and add it up. This is kind of a tough game to score. I mean, you group things, but you have to do the numbers. I'm going to group mine into sets of 50. Port of Normandy is easy. It's 50.
Yeah, there's no score track, and I am a very slow adder, so it actually takes me a while to tally my points here.
Yeah, one thing I'm very strong at is clustering and grouping. It's just one of my skills. So there. See, on my side of Port of Normandy is one group of 50. Then below that I have a second group of 50. Next I have 2 groups of 50. That's 200. And then everything kind of sitting on the right side. I'm going to lay out the coins I got from my end of game scoring building here, plus my 1 extra coin, which I'll set aside just to be clear. And I can't read from here what the exact score is, but I will get it on the overlay, and I ended up somewhere in the 220 range. Okay, well, we can talk final thoughts while this is going.
Okay, well, it's actually, I don't have too many final thoughts, because most of the moves I could have made better. I've pointed out in the video, the not buying the business office when I had the chance, that cost me quite a few points. Not building the docks when I had the chance, and then there were some buildings that I decided to save. There was one time when I used the combo of the wood trader and I think the church square, when I really shouldn't have done that. There were bigger points to make elsewhere. So what are your final thoughts?
I think I proved that you can actually get a long way in this game just cranking through fish. I don't think I've ever played the game that way before, so that was interesting. Not too many things that I
No,
really
you actually
regretted.
had a really good game here.
It's nice to see that there are multiple ways. It's not just all about hogging resources.
Okay, I think that's it.
Thanks for tuning in to Analysis Paralysis. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time.